Are you a blamer? Blaming people do not take responsibility for how they show up, for the things that they do. They always find somebody to put the blame on, right? Blaming is actually a way for you to escape, right? Because you're always looking for a scapegoat. It is the easy way out versus literally taking a look in the mirror and saying, this is the things that I did, this is the things that I did wrong, and guess what, I am sorry for doing these things, and actually meaning that you are sorry. Now in these next several videos, this will be a series of behavioral videos, and there will be behaviors of different types of things and ways that people show up. This particular one is behaviors of blamers. Are you one of them? And then we have a series of different videos that are going to talk about different behaviors of just people in general. Now, who am I and why should you listen to me? My name is MarshaunO, and I am your favorite relationship strategist. I help Christian women that are married on long-term relationships to stop feeling disconnected and unloved and shift them to feeling heard, understood, and appreciated. Because how we show up in our relationship will determine how our relationship is unfolding, how fast it moves to the next level, how healthy your relationship actually is. And a lot of times we believe that we are doing better than we actually are. And so I'm here to help you to understand and see if you are actually as great or as good as you think you are, as well as, don't take it personally, but as well as the areas that you may need to focus on and work on so you can become better, so you can become a part of, or at least start to become a part of the top 1% of couples that have extraordinary relationships, because those couples do things differently. They handle situations differently, and usually they are looking for resolutions within the relationship whenever problems occur. And so we're going to talk about the behaviors of blamers today, and the question is, are you one of them? I'm gonna give you 5 ways to determine if you are a blamer. But first, let me go ahead and give you the definition, my definition of what I believe a blamer is. A blamer is a person that is unable to see their part that they contributed to their own misfortune or misery. They are quick to avoid responsibility for their own happiness or a lack of success in their life. They're always looking for somebody else, a scapegoat, to put the blame on, because they do not want to or even cannot look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what, my life sucks because of me. My relationship sucks because of me. The things that I am doing or the things that I am not doing. The way that I communicate, the way that I do not communicate. Right? The promises that I say that I have, am I keeping them or not? The things that you are actually doing that is playing a part in how your relationship is going downhill. One of these things is you being a blamer. Now, one of the first ways to determine if you are a blamer is, are you a person that can be nasty, aggressive, and deliberately refuse to cooperate? Because you always have a reason why it's somebody else's fault. Again, there's the lack of responsibility if you are a blamer. It's somebody else's fault why your life sucks. It's somebody else's fault why your relationship sucks. It's somebody else's fault why you got fired. That may be true, but it's probably your fault as well. There's some things that you were doing as well, right? I remember, and I did not get fired. However, the example that I have is the laboratory job that I was working in. Someone called HR on me because I was clocking out for lunch, but I was still doing my work. Now, number one, I've been doing that for years. Number two, HR basically told me it's a no-go. I get it. Cool. I'm on somebody else's time. I have to follow their rules, right? But here's the thing. When I went into HR, I didn't blame nobody else. Like, I was pissed off that somebody called HR on me because it's a small laboratory, number one. Number two, everybody be hee and ha in my face, and then behind my back you call it HR. And of course ain't nobody ever owned up to who actually did it. But then number three, I went in there and accepted my responsibility, and I was also willing to accept the consequences that came with it if that meant them firing me. Like, because it wasn't that I went in there and lied. I actually said, Yeah, I'm doing that. I am doing that. And so in the state of California, they don't want you to do that. I'm sure it's other places, but this is where I live. And so I came from a different laboratory in a different state, different rules, right? Whatever, not going down that rabbit hole, but just I had to take responsibility for how I was showing up. And at somebody else's job, I wasn't doing what they wanted me to do. So somebody sneakily went and told on me, but I did not go in there and say that it was X, Y, and Z's fault. They always don't help me. They it's so much work. No, I said yes. Yes, I am doing that. Yeah, I am. Basically got a smack on the wrist and moving on with life. But the point is, I did not go in there and blame anybody. I went in there and took whatever they was giving me, even if that meant I was going to lose my very well-paid laboratory job. That's the same in your relationship. I know different example, but if your spouse is coming to you and saying, hey, I didn't like the way X, Y, and Z went down. And all of a sudden, instead of you saying, I'm sorry, or instead of you saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to be better. I'm going to do better. All of a sudden, it was your fault. I did this because you did that. I did this because the kids did that. It's never your fault. That's a problem. That's a problem. You have to learn to own up to your own stuff, whether it's something that shows you in a good light or a bad light. And usually when you're blaming somebody else, it's usually you see it as some type of a weakness, but also you see it as, I don't have to take the blame for this because if they wouldn't have did, then I wouldn't have did. And it really doesn't work like that. You are putting a very bad taste in your spouse's mouth because you cannot own up to the things that you are actually doing, the ways that you are showing up, your behavior, right? So, number one. Number two, it is a key symptom of blamers' inability to have healthy interpersonal relationships. You have an inability to have a healthy relationship. If you are a blamer, there is no way that your relationship is going to end up healthy. No way, shape, form, or fashion. Because blamers' behavior is an obstacle to deeper emotional connections. Let me say that again. If you are a blamer, come closer. You are blocking the emotional connection that you crave by blaming, by not taking responsibility for how you are showing up, what you are doing, how you are behaving. That connection keeps getting cut because your partner is coming to you. You know what? I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Immediately, you get frustrated. Immediately, you get aggressive. Immediately, you start blaming. Immediately, you get nasty. And how much of a connection do you think you're having by doing that? I can tell you, little to none, if not zero. Little to none, if not zero. And the reason why I'm even putting little to none in there is because in the beginning, you don't realize that your partner is a blamer. And so after the first time, 2 times, 3 times, okay, now we're getting to 4, 5, 6, 7, and beyond. It's not cute any longer. In the beginning, you get that little, because you're like, okay, well, maybe, all right, that's possible. Oh, okay, I can see the kids. Especially if you're just on your journey of growth and you're not realizing that this is something that should not be occurring at all. So if you're in the beginning, or if it's something that's new, okay, you might give them a little grace. But after a while, it gets old. After a while, now you have the title of you are a blamer. You are a person who cannot take responsibility for their own actions. And definitely, if you are a blamer, there is no way in hell that you are actually saying, I'm sorry, because it's never your fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So there's no way that you're even going to apologize. So now all of these things coupled together, you will never be able to experience a deeper emotional connection. And at some point, the person that is experiencing this all the time will lose interest not only in you, but also in the relationship. And guess what? At some point, your relationship will be over. Because it takes a level of maturity for you to own up for the things that you are doing as well as not doing. And we all need the emotional connection. And so if I cannot get a deep emotional connection with you, then what are we doing together? Why are we wasting each other's time? Time is short and very precious. Time is short and very precious. So why are we wasting each other's time if we cannot get over this hump or humps? Because you fail to take responsibility for you. You want it to be somebody else to take the blame for your junk. There's no way in hell your relationship is going to last after a period of time, because it doesn't matter how long the person gets frustrated. At some point, there is a breaking point. And when your partner reaches that breaking point, they will be gone forever, never to return, to block you on every social media site, as well as phone number, in any way that you can contact them, with the exception of maybe you guys have kids or something, and so maybe they're leaving something open for the kids' sake. But there is no conversation about you two, ever. So if you want to keep your relationship, especially if you're a person that's watching this who is a blamer, you need to tighten up, because you are for sure moving your partner to walking out forever. And if you don't want that, now if you don't care, then you can stop watching this now. It doesn't matter. Like, none of this stuff matters that I'm saying to you. But if you do care, if you actually do want your relationship to work, then you just got to own up to your own crap and stop blaming people. And actually, because it's something that you've probably been doing for years or even decades, recognize it. And when you do recognize that you are blaming somebody else instead of taking your own responsibility, and say, you know what, my bad, I see I'm going back to my own old behaviors. Don't want to do that anymore. So what I'm going to actually do is say, I'm sorry, and blah, blah, blah. That blah, blah, blah is whatever comes next. What are you sorry for in this example? The third thing is, the person who is a blamer often has a fragile self-image that must be fed with feelings of power and success. Because a blamer must feel like he or she is in control of the situation. Because again, he or she sees not being in control as a weakness. So it has to be some form of power and success behind it, because they really have a fragile self-image of themselves. And so if they don't have power, i.e. control, and seeing themselves as successful, then they have a problem with themselves. So in order to camouflage that, in order to keep on their mask, now they have to continue to blame you. They have to continue to assert themselves and, pump up their chest and make you feel as if you're less than, when in fact, it's actually him or her who just really doesn't like themselves. They do not love themselves, because whenever you have a poor self-image of yourself, there's no way that you can love yourself. And so you got to start working on your self-esteem and your confidence if you are a person that blames. You must. It's not sexy. It's actually not sexy at all. The fourth thing, when you are a blamer, you are constantly shifting the focus by putting your partner on the defensive, because you're trying to get it off of you and why your partner came to you in the first place. And so now you must shift things and now make it about your partner. So you can take the blame off of you. You can take the focus off of you, because you don't want the spotlight right now. Any other time you love the spotlight, but not in this case, because they are, or you at least feel like they are attacking your character. They are attacking that power that you need. They are attacking your success, which is to not look weak in this instance. And so now you're shifting the focus. But anytime you start to shift the focus, if you're a person like me and even realize that's what a person is doing, then I have to backtrack that. It's not that easy with me, because I know what you're doing. You might not even realize this is your go-to, but I do. And so now I got to get you back on track so we can get the focus back on you, instead of you trying to turn it around on me. And now you're trying to make me the bad guy. And by the time we leave the conversation, guess what? Now I'm feeling bad about myself. And we never even scratched the surface of where this was really going, which was you and the things that you're doing. So blamers always shift the focus because they don't want it on them. Not in this instance, because this makes him or her look bad. The fifth and final thing to think about to see if you are a blamer, or even your spouse. Is your spouse a blamer? right? Because maybe you're saying that and now you're trying to figure out if this is something that is really true. Well, the fifth thing is a blamer is often going to avoid resolutions because, again, the focus is on misplaced rights and wrongs. So they're often going to avoid resolving anything that you bring to them because they must focus on the rights and wrongs that are now misplaced, i.e., shifting them on you. So these are my top 5. Are you a blamer? Is your spouse a blamer? Let's talk about it down in the comment section below, and definitely look out for my next video where we talk about behaviors of other people within the relationship and how they're showing up. I love you guys. There's nothing that you can do about it. Now, if you need some help with stop reshifting, or I should say shifting the blame on other people other than yourself, definitely go ahead and reach out to me. Get on my calendar. Sign up for your free 30-minute coaching conversation with me so we can help you become better. So we can help you get on the road to real success and what real success in your love life looks like, so you too can be a part of the top 1% of couples that have extraordinary relationships. Again, I am MarshaunO, your favorite relationship strategist, and I help Christian women that are married or in long-term relationships to stop feeling disconnected and unloved and shift you to feeling heard, understood, and appreciated. I love you guys. There's nothing that you can do about it, and I will see you in a future video. Bye now.